Changing gears a bit, Carrie O'Neill has a question concerning the QECB model. Can you tell us what leverage ratio you've achieved, the combined public funds for credit enhancement versus the size of the loan pool made available for financing?
Well, I think, when the day is done, I think we're expecting leveraging of our RGGI and DOE funds to probably be on the order somewhere between 5 to 10 to 1. Okay.
And then building on that, a question from Zubin Kanawala. Will NYSERDA continue to securitize the loan themselves, or will this eventually be handled by a third party?
Well, we have the advantage here. NYSERDA has the advantage of being able to access the capital markets directly. And so I think we have the ability to structure the bonds, issue these bonds directly. So at the moment, I don't think we have a plan for using any kind of a third-party administrator to handle the financing aspect of this. That is the bond financing aspect of this, since we can do that directly. We are certainly aware. We are certainly aware there are efforts underway to create more of a national approach where multiple state efficiency program administrators could sell loans into a common structure that then could issue securities on kind of an aggregated scale. We're watching that effort, and I think we're interested in participating in that effort if we can see that the results would be effective.
Could you also expand a bit, Jeff, on some of the private players who are out there looking at providing that type of service? I know that Abundant Power is one that's been mentioned in the past.
Yeah, I think there are, there has kind of become a little cottage industry that seems to be cropping up of organizations who recognize opportunities here to work with, whether it's municipalities or state energy offices or local governments or just, foundations, program administrators. So I think there are certainly, a handful of organizations that do provide for kind of a full suite of services. They can provide all of the administrative efforts and including accessing the capital. We looked at those efforts early on, and I think we concluded that we ourselves at NYSERDA could play that role, and then based on our relationships with whether it's contractors or the financial institutions, we'd create a similar kind of structure. So it's kind of like we're our own general contractor.
A question from Baron Artzinger. Could you touch on how the Green Jobs, Green New York bill enables NYSERDA to promote the enhancement of education and training opportunities in efficiency?
Well, part of the efforts that we're doing are in the form of workforce development training efforts, and these are efforts that are supporting the participating contractors in the program. They include things like apprenticeship programs. They provide for safety and other technical training that are providing for kind of pathways out of poverty type programs where residents, particularly in the targeted communities, can then get trained and educated to get a career, a green job career. So we're at the early stage of rolling those out. We have a program that's been established here in New York through a network of community colleges and others, and we're really excited about that, and we think it'll be a strong supportive mechanism when we start creating increased level of consumer demand. We need to, at the same time, have a very strong and vibrant effort to train and educate workers to enter into the green careers.
Jeff, can you expand a bit more on the increasing consumer demand, the relationship between community-based marketing and some of the approaches that you're beginning to take, the approach of working through contractors to promote the programs and explain the financing options? How do you see this relationship developing, and what is the role of social networks going forward in increasing participation in these programs?
Yeah, we have multiple marketing channels and outreach channels that I think are attempting to reach consumers. In the past, for the last decade or so, the program has been operated principally through contractor-delivered marketing efforts, with also at the same time support by NYSERDA broad-based statewide efforts. The CBO initiative is one where we will be working through organizations that have close ties to members in the community. And we expect them to work through their constituencies and to hopefully encourage large numbers of consumers within targeted communities to undertake energy efficiency efforts. At the same time, we're having contractors who will continue to deliver their marketing approaches. We also will have broad-based NYSERDA kind of statewide efforts, including the use of social media. We have a brand identity and marketing campaign that we're just close to launching, where we will try to tie all of these efforts under a common umbrella. And the idea is creating a messaging that really provides for a common cause for action for the consumers to undertake their efforts, so that whether the marketing effort is delivered by a contractor or by a CBO or by a local governmental official or by a NYSERDA contractor or by NYSERDA itself, there's kind of a common messaging and a common brand identity that's being used to hopefully not cause confusion for the consumers.
A question from Ann Goggin, Jeff. These are unsecured loans, but the benefit is attached to a particular home. Is there a due on sale clause for these loans? And if so, how is that enforced?
The initial loan structure is an unsecured loan, and so it stays with the borrower. So no, there is no on-demand requirement upon sale of the home. It's conceivable that the loan obligation could be assigned to the purchaser, but that's not our intention. We are hopeful that we will work through enabling legislation that would authorize on-bill financing. And if so, we would hope that that financing would be in the form of an on-meter obligation that would stay on the property upon sale. So our initial efforts were to focus on an unsecured loan product that would not stay with the property.
Another question building on that from Corey Stone. Does NYSERDA anticipate having the post-retrofit building efficiency scoring data to travel along with the loans so loan performance can be correlated with retrofits? And a secondary question from Corey as well. Do you anticipate any statewide or local legislation mandating efficiency labeling following your efforts?
Well, in all of our programs, we do kind of comprehensive evaluation efforts to look at the actual results of our programs. So we'll continue to monitor and have independent evaluation of our results. I don't know that we're looking to, on a kind of per household basis, kind of report that as was suggested there. I think that's something we'll have to take a look at. It was not included in the legislation that was enacted to use any kind of a scoring mechanism that would or labeling mechanism that might stay with the property. But that's something I think we would take a look at.
A question from Kelly Kennedy, looking specifically at the funding sources for the program. Could you elaborate on what measures New York has taken to protect the state's funding sources from being raided by the legislature to reduce the state budget deficit? This is something that we've experienced here in Connecticut. Could you just talk through that process?
Yeah, so in last year's budget, there was a redirection of $90 million, total of $90 million in RGGI funding that was used as part of a deficit reduction plan. So those represented RGGI funds that had been received that were redirected. We are hopeful that the $112 million that has been pledged for this effort, with our demonstration of consumers' receptivity to this, we're very hopeful that these funds will be safe. I don't think we've received any indication that these funds are vulnerable. And again, I think the best we can do is try to get this program rolled out and operating and creating as much consumer demand as quickly as we can, because that would ultimately help to dissuade folks from redirecting the funds for different purposes.
Another question concerning the setup in New York. Do you ever anticipate, or could the measured improvement in efficiency in a residence qualify for a renewable energy credit or a white certificate that could be resold in the rec market?
It could. We have not looked to kind of capture that, as part of the program. I know some folks have suggested that we might look at that as kind of a program design option where we might be able to capture those. That's something we'll have to explore further. We have no plans for that at the moment, though.
Great, thank you. Jeff, one final question as we're coming to the end of our presentation today. You've been deeply involved in the development of these programs through NYSERDA for decades, and what do you see going forward as the opportunities for private capital to be deployed in residential energy efficiency, in small commercial, in multifamily homes? Where does private equity, venture capital, or commodities trading fit in to this space?
Well, again, I think our view is there is capital there and it's available, and what we have to do is provide better education both to building owners and financiers to make both of them comfortable. That is, building owners, or whether it's homeowners or business owners, have to be receiving more confidence in the types of retrofits that they can undertake and feel more confident in the results. And so to that end, we, in our commercial industrial programs, have supported benchmarking efforts. We think benchmarking efforts are incredibly useful and necessary to help encourage building owners, because then they can see real data of other properties that have been retrofitted and see the results that have been realized. Similarly, we think the same data can be useful to financiers. I think, capital being lent to energy efficiency work, there is kind of a question of, do the savings materialize? And so to the extent that we have improved benchmarking data or objective evaluation data, it should, in our mind, it should make the financiers more comfortable in providing capital to those projects.
Well, Jeff, thank you very much for your time. That concludes the talk today by Jeff Pitkin of NYSERDA on financing energy efficiency, new approaches and partnerships. We'd like to thank Jeff for joining us this afternoon. Jeff, do you have any final thoughts for our audience?
No, just again, I had my contact information, and so for any who weren't able to have a question answered, feel free to send me an email, and we'd be happy to respond back. Thank you very much, Stuart.
Thank you very much again. This talk will be made available through Yale iTunes University. If you would like a copy of the presentation, please visit the website of the Yale Center for Business and the Environment. It will be posted shortly. The presentation will be under the Carbon Finance Speaker Series for this particular talk. We will continue to delve into new technology, business models, finance, and policy options as the weeks progress. We look forward to your continued participation. We thank you all for joining us for Blueprint for Efficiency, part of the Carbon Finance Speaker Series at Yale. This is Stuart Dick Yu from snowbound New Haven, Connecticut, and from the Center for Business and the Environment at Yale, saying so long.